Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday. We're so excited to be talking about that comeback consultation. So we know that we are outside of being able to, really truly deliver our craft to our clients, but we've got our eyes set on the prize, which is that long-awaited return. And we want to have some really great dialogue. We have our 4 leaders here, and we're going to be discussing the things that have come to the forefront of our brains on how we can really come back and make it advantageous for both the customer and ourselves. So we're excited to have that dialogue, hope to give you some tools, things to consider while getting back in front of your customers, and maybe a way that you could pivot and bring even more value to them after this long separation. So to begin, we are going to just round robin it. So if the 4 leaders, as you have something that you would like to share, please by all means jump off. We've got a lot of overlapping conversations, so I want to keep the dialogue bouncing back and forth. I know that one of the main things that we were talking about, or one of our big overlapping points of conversation in the consultation is really what has happened, what has happened since we have last seen them. So I know, Drew, you were talking about some really great innovative ways using technology to get that interim consultation. Often, I'm sure many of you actually do a consultation for corrective color. And we recognize that as the weeks go on, our clients are turning into corrective color. Even if they're just a new growth touch-up, the reality is once it's grown outside of that hot zone, you now have a different area or section of the hair. So we're talking about, we can't just go back to our back room, mix that, true, tried and tested formulation and put it back on and expect the same results when we're going to have a new growth that's of a much larger caliber than it would have been previously. So Drew, you had some really great innovative ideas, and I would love if you would share what you're going to implement in regards to consulting with your corrective colors.
So one of the things that I've considered, and not just corrective coloring, but I'm sure that all of you have viewed on Facebook some at-home haircuts happening as well. So I'm considering a lot of corrective cutting to be a thing of the future as well. So before I plan on going back into the salon, I'm going to ask that my clients that have either, cut their own hair or colored their own hair in some fashion to just do either a quick Zoom or a quick FaceTime with me, so that I can see, like in person, not just like one area of a photograph, basically like what their hair looks like, because we also have to start planning for additional time. The worst thing that we could do in going back into the salon is not giving ourselves enough time to complete a service and then end up running behind on day 1 of coming back, because we've all been out of work for a hot minute and we all are itching to get back in. But the worst thing we could do is overextend our capabilities and then create more stress in the future. And so that's something that, no cost to you. And if someone did color their hair, you could have those conversations ahead of time of, well, this is what we typically do, but this is what we're going to need to do. These are the precautionary steps. This is how much it costs, and this is how much you're expected to pay on that first visit. So there's no surprise when you get back into the salon. It just kind of limits that and creates a smoother transition, and also allows you to book more time for what you need to do.
So brilliant. I love that. And really putting technology to use to support industry professionals. And, that goes all the way up the chain of command in regards to, that's going to support the stylist. And then if you're in a salon or a salon owner also, nobody wants salon guests who are sitting at the front desk upset about the exaggerated wait time because their stylist is running behind, or now utilizing your receptionist for having to make all of the postponing phone calls. And so it really is addressing a lot of the issues that we can find in just the mechanics, the way that the salon runs. So I love that. And Mariah, that kind of takes me into the conversation that we were having as well, in regards to treating a new client like treating an old guest like a new client, and how to address that in consultation. Will you walk us through how you envision that, and how we could set ourselves up for the best success?
Yeah, absolutely. So what kind of comes to mind for me is there has been such a gap in time from the last time we saw our clients to when we'll be going back to the salon. And consider this as a time to really clean up those consultation skills. Like maybe if there were some gaps in your consultation or some areas where maybe you didn't feel comfortable having the conversation, whether that be around pricing or around maintenance, or just the things that we know are very, very important to talk about with our clients when we're planning out the entirety of their service. Maybe before, you've been seeing a particular person for such a long time that it didn't feel as comfortable to revamp your consult. Well, now is the perfect opportunity to do that. Going back in, it's like almost like a fresh start of sorts, where you can make sure that you're hammering all that information in and being thorough in your pricing, in the pre-booking schedule, in making recommendations for them, becoming a little bit more prescriptive in your services, if that's somewhere where you were already thinking about making changes before, or maybe you noticed some holes in your consultation before. Now is a great time to really get information from here, and then all the other resources that we have available to put together a really nice, solid consultation so that you can put it in practice with every client. You're treating your existing clientele like new ones. It kind of takes away that sort of the room for awkwardness or tension, or having that type of conversation when we just approach it like brand new and just starting kind of fresh, if that's something that you think you can take and run with.
Yes, absolutely. And I know that we all work with or have exposure in our coloring classes, especially, and with our team, we teach to use our diagnostic tool, which is if you don't have our diagnostic tool, however, we will share it. It's a branded piece of, it's a branded support document, but it can be used no matter what brand you choose. And what it really helps us do is it helps us to map out where we are currently, so to assess where we're starting. And I always say that it works very similarly to if a doctor comes into your office and they have, their pad, and they're asking some standard questions and doing some evaluation. Well, that can not only help us to ensure our formulation, and that we're not in the hecticness of what's likely going to look like back-to-back services, and that we don't get caught up in going back to something that's comfortable and create a problem for ourselves. That allows us that pause for evaluation. So we'll make sure we post that in the Facebook group so that you guys can at least see what we're talking about. And we'll walk through what that would look like, maybe a situation or something to lend you an idea of how to utilize either that or something like that to modify for your own salon, so that you can have that diagnostic tool. In addition, if you haven't already been using something along these lines, it's really going to elevate your level of professionalism when you're walking out and you have this new posture of confidence. And so for a lot of people who have had that extended time away from their stylist, they're not looking the way they used to. Maybe they did make a little boo-boo when they did the over-the-counter color. And so they might be more uncertain than ever. And the great thing is that we can provide them with the confidence, not only in their end result, but in what we have put into ourselves in this downtime, and how we have decided or maybe stepped up to a greater level of professionalism in our everyday practice. So I think it's a great way to incorporate something that I know we're very familiar with and I used behind the chair, especially in new consults, but it's a wonderful way to continue, and also to watch your coloring process and progress over many appointments so that you can follow your own work. And that way, if you ever need to adjust, change, or pivot in the future based on a desired effect, you know exactly what's been on that hair or how that hair has been treated. So I love that, 𝗫𝗫. Great idea about really stepping up our game in consultation, of course, and treating every guest like a new guest. So that takes me to something when we were talking about elevating ourselves outside of the salon right now. As we are, I know many people, there's actually a couple names on here that I've seen I've seen this posted on their social, but Kristen, you were sharing about how we can actually earn certifications that will not only pay into our profession wholeheartedly across the board, but also specifically right when we return, helping to build that confidence. So can you share a little bit about the certification that you were recommending and how we could even adapt this and integrate it into the email campaigns that you were referencing, and how that could be something that happens prior to guests coming in, and we could be doing that in the interim?
Yeah, I apologize though. I keep freezing, and you froze for me for most of that, but I heard Barbicide and email. Is that right?
Yeah, well, essentially the Barbicide cert, and then how we could use the email campaign, that the conversation that we were having, and we could use that to build into and tell them right now and put them at ease before they even arrive to the salon.
I'm so sorry. I keep freezing. So I'm trying a new spot. So I apologize. So Drew, 𝗫𝗫, Lindsay, please jump on if I freeze. But yeah, for our salon, we saw that, and I've seen a lot of people on here, actually, I've seen on their Instagram, they've already done it. But Barbicide actually has, they know that it actually does effectively work against COVID-19. So they have a certification on their website, and you can just go to barbicide.com, I believe. If you type that in Google, it'll pop right up, and you can actually get certified to show your clients that you have this certification, and it will just, I think, put them not only at ease, but it will also show that you are doing something and stepping up, showing that you're going to change the way that you run your salon and run your business. And even though we've already done that, we're just going to show our clientele that we're stepping up to that next level, and that we're going to be ready, and we're going to be even more sanitary than we ever have in the past. And I think that that's something huge that you can work on right now with your staff, and then, send out email campaigns, put social media and so forth, and, get people excited. So I think for me, the biggest thing is just getting clients excited to come back, and and take away the fear that they can't get back in, or that we're not opening back up. Just giving them that hope, and knowing that you're going to take care of them, and that they will get an appointment and so forth. And then you can move on to those consultation steps.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for those of you that may be like me and building email campaigns or even email lists feels daunting, and I always put it off till tomorrow. This is a great time in which we have more time to do those things. And the best part is that you could finish the course and actually send your certification with a nice letter that states, in times like these, I'm taking our safety and our environment to the utmost. You can put it in your own words, but I'm taking the importance of that to the highest level, and I want you to be ensured that your safety is my highest priority. And so again, it's another point of contact in this downtime, and it also shows them and teaches them what it is that you're putting in while you're away from behind the chair. So I love that idea. And of course, posting on social as well. But again, the more points of contact you can have between now and then, the more excited they'll be. So I know that another thing that we were talking about is, having that delicate conversation about money, because the reality is the consultation is great. But what we want to know, when they're there is, or the conversation we'll want to have when we're present with them, is also going to be a delicate one, because some people will have been, greatly affected by this pandemic, and financially they may have lost their job, or their spouse lost their job, or something along, their business went under, who knows. And so it's a great time to meet them with that open heart space that says, hey, asks, I don't know how this is looking for you, but I want to address, what you would like moving forward. What is a reasonable maintenance program for you? So are you still comfortable coming in every 4 weeks? And also, are you still comfortable with what you were spending prior to, or are we looking to need to redirect to different services to meet your budgetary needs? And there can be a lot of great dialogue. And if any leader has a way that they want to, or they envision having this conversation and this dialogue, please jump on, because it's a sensitive one, absolutely. And what we don't want to do is think that everybody needs a bargain. So this isn't a time to discount your services. This is the time to redirect them for the same price that you were previously charging, but if they can no longer afford the double process blonde, it may be time to move them to something that would be in their price range. And so again, I don't want to misinform and say that we think that we should all discount our services. It's not about discounting. It's about ensuring that whatever service they want to render is within their budgetary needs, that you understand that, and that if it's not, you find something that's a solution that you both can meet on, so that they both like the way they look, but also that they can afford it. Or maybe you exaggerate their touch up, and maybe it was every 4 weeks and they're willing to push it out that extra week. So there are a lot of solutions in regards to that. With the booking and I'm trying to think of how to word it, with the pre-booking and consultations and all of that conversation, what else, Mariah, tell me anything else that you want to add in that you think could be beneficial?
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely have my own fair share of the clients that say, oh, I'll call when I'm ready for my next one. We were talking about pre-booking and getting, just bringing back consistency to the books, because they're all kind of, jumbled up right now, like where do you put where, and we'll talk more about that like in upcoming episodes. But when you start bringing the clients back in, the first thing that really comes up to me is like what we do going back is really the things that work in consultation anyway, that are really excellent business practices anyway, but now it's just a perfect opportunity to really clean them up and make them consistent. So with the pre-booking conversation, we know that when we pre-book appointments, we can, keep them on track for maintenance, keep our schedules consistent, have our books, stable. So there's not that feast or famine kind of fluctuation in income and things like that. So when they come back, I feel like the pre-booking is even more so important, because we kind of have the overlap of the people who would be in for their next round of appointments, but they missed it because they got shifted. But then you have people that are already on the books, so trying to fit them in, really encouraging them to, when they come in, pre-book their next one so that they get back into that rotation, so that we can create the consistency and evenness in the schedule, so we're not kind of having a mirroring or replication of the same kind of timing issue 6 weeks or 8 weeks down the line, because we're trying to work people around the other appointments. So I think just really having an honest conversation with them too, not like, I need you on my books because I need you on my books, but really explaining to them why is that important? How is it beneficial for them in this situation? And then using the opportunity to get them used to it so that they continue to do it moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing as well that I know we were talking about, and Drew, I'm going to ask for you to lend something, the mindset that you had around that. But the reality is that people are also, with this exaggerated time and time away, they may also be desiring to have additional services. They may have felt, I'm feeling like I'm frozen because everybody's frozen. But I'll keep going. Hopefully you can catch on. But Drew, you were talking about psych. I was done with you guys. No.
We're all having a little issue today with our
Yeah,
Wi-Fi,
well, it's
or
a
with
busy
you.
time on Zoom for sure. So all I was circling back to was also, you know, a lot of times during this time, people have started to look at magazines, they've looked at other people's hair, maybe their grow out is giving them an idea that they want to shift. And so using that FaceTime and also Zoom to, or even just texting and emailing and saying, hey, if there are some pictures of how you want to pivot, please let me know, because we have an idea of where they are and where they're moving from. And so if you have pictures of where they are today and maybe what they're looking for. But Drew, you made a really great point, because what we also don't want to do, like I stated earlier, is assume that everybody needs, you know, a discount or looking to save money. Many people are also going to be coming back and feeling like just like they need some real love, some TLC, something to make them feel human again. So talk about being comfortable with that and the mindset around that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's be honest. Anytime that anyone has a major change in their life, usually the first thing they want to change is their hair, right? And so whether it's a cut or a color, and sometimes you're like, woo, I'm not cutting, you know, the hair that was down to your waist into a pixie. That's just not going to happen unless I have, you know, a signature from your therapist. But we also have to think that now is a time where maybe we can suggest some change. And that's really kind of like stepping up and being a leader as well. Maybe they don't want change, but maybe you have some clients where, oh, they've had to grow their hair out a little bit longer. You have a little bit more to work with. Or like I said, we're also going to see some of these quarantine haircuts, and then what can we do with those to create a really polished look in the end? Like, how can we transform this into something that I, as a stylist, would also be proud of? So being able to have those conversations helps to also give you a positive outlook on the rest of the year. We're all coming from a place of, you know, uncertainty and kind of like a little bit of crazy, and just keeping that positive mindset, and then also looking for what I can do to make the rest of the year as successful as possible. And also just being able to maybe suggest something new could make your client feel like, oh, you know, they've thought about me during this time, and they're thinking about like what's going to make me feel better. It's just really elevating yourself as a professional when we do have this little bit of extra time.
Yeah, and I think to close that thought out as well is that it can absolutely be a proposal of, I would love, the language that I am attracted to is, I would love to really pamper you today. Would you be open to a deep conditioning mask? And like with that, it's, yes, it is an upcharge, or maybe it's a color, you know, it's a glaze, maybe it's a direct dye color conditioner and it stays on the hair, and you keep them in the back bowl and you do that exaggerated massage technique for removal. And it's just that little extra love that we can pay into them, but also the love we can give to their strands, because likely more than not, they've had some distance from their normal touch up and keep up. So I hope that today you were able to take a couple things away that you can implement, whether it was becoming certified, really utilizing a consultation tool, how to address the consultations and that dialogue around finances, how to use technology to ensure that we understand where our customers are right now in real time with their hair, and possibly where they're wanting to move to. And we hope that you can take some part of this and impart it onto your business or in your business to continue to bring you success. And again, we thank all of you for joining. And for those of you that are on live, we're excited to close out with any live Q&A, but for the rest of you or those watching in the future, thanks so much. If everyone wants to give the camera a wave, just wave to the camera and say goodbye.